The rain, a relentless, icy curtain, mirrored the chaos inside me. Not the kind of rain that whispers against window panes, but a furious, hammering downpour that seemed determined to wash away everything, including the fragile remnants of my composure. I remember the streetlights' distorted halos in the deluge, casting long, wavering shadows that danced with the frantic rhythm of my heartbeat. I was standing there, soaked to the bone, not caring, not even feeling the chill. Because moments before, under the flickering neon sign of the Crimson Bloom, a dive bar I'd sworn I'd never enter again, I'd watched Liam, the man I'd secretly loved for years, the man I'd built entire worlds around in the quiet corners of my mind, kiss someone else. Not just any someone, but a woman, a vibrant, laughing woman with eyes that held the same carefree spark Liam used to have before everything. Before the unspoken tension, the shared glances that never quite met, the electric silences that crackled with unsaid words. It was like a physical blow, a wrenching, gut-twisting realization that all my carefully constructed fantasies were nothing more than elaborate illusions. The love story, the one I'd crafted in my head, the one where we finally admitted the undeniable pull between us, shattered into a million pieces. And then, as if the universe decided to add a cruel, ironic twist, Liam's gaze, heavy with a sudden, almost desperate intensity, locked onto mine across the crowded bar. Not with guilt, not with apology, but with a strange, almost pleading look that made my breath catch in my throat. He pushed away from the woman, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes, and started to move towards me, the noise of the bar fading into a dull, underwater hum. That's when I bolted. I ran, not knowing where, just needing to escape the suffocating weight of what I had seen, the crushing realization that maybe, just maybe, I'd been completely wrong about everything. Maybe the love story I'd been writing was a ghost story, a tale of a love that was never there. And then, amidst the torrential downpour, while I was running, trying to outpace the pain, my phone vibrated in my pocket. A text from Liam: "Meet me at the old bookstore, midnight, please, it's important." The old bookstore, pages of yesterday, a place we'd both loved, a silent witness to countless shared afternoons and whispered secrets. But why now after what I'd just seen? It was as if the universe, in its twisted humor, was offering a chance for a new chapter or perhaps a final, devastating conclusion. The rain intensified, mirroring the storm inside me, and the question echoed in my mind. Was this the night our love story took off, or the night it crashed and burned? The old bookstore, pages of yesterday, smelled of aged paper and forgotten dreams, a comforting scent that usually soothed my soul. Tonight, however, it felt like a suffocating reminder of all the stories left unfinished, all the unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. The clock above the dusty shelves ticked with a maddeningly slow rhythm, each tick a hammer blow against my already frayed nerves. Liam was late. Or maybe I was early, a desperate attempt to cling to the last vestiges of hope. I wandered through the labyrinth of towering bookshelves, my fingers tracing the spines of worn volumes, each a silent testament to lives lived and stories told. I found myself drawn to a particular shelf, a collection of poetry, and pulled out a battered copy of Whitman's Leaves of Grass. A familiar poem, Song of Myself, fell open, and I read the lines: "Do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes." The words resonated with a strange, almost unsettling clarity. Was that what Liam was, a contradiction, a man capable of such tenderness, such unspoken understanding, and yet also capable of such heartbreaking betrayal? Then a noise, a soft rustle from the back of the store, and Liam emerged from the shadows, his face pale and drawn, his eyes filled with a raw intensity that made my heart pound against my ribs. He didn't apologize for being late, didn't offer any explanation for the kiss I'd witnessed. Instead, he simply looked at me, his gaze searching, almost desperate. "I need to show you something," he said, his voice barely a whisper, and he led me to a hidden alcove behind a towering bookshelf, a space I'd never noticed before. Inside, a single antique projector flickered to life, casting images onto a makeshift screen: old photographs, faded Polaroids, and grainy home videos. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized the faces in the pictures. Liam and a young woman, her smile radiant, her eyes filled with a familiar spark. It was the woman from the bar. But then the images shifted, and I saw Liam holding her hand, their fingers intertwined, their faces etched with a deep, almost painful love. And then a hospital room, a pale, thin figure lying in a bed, and Liam, his face etched with grief, holding her hand as she slipped away. The realization hit me like a physical blow. She wasn't just someone he kissed, she was someone he loved, someone he lost, and the kiss I'd witnessed wasn't a betrayal, but a goodbye, a final, desperate attempt to hold on to a memory. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a raw vulnerability that made my own tears well up. Her name was Clara, he said, his voice trembling. She was my sister, a sister he had lost to a rare illness. He had been reliving the past, and I had condemned him. The twist here was I had seen a moment of grief and interpreted it as romantic betrayal. A new story was forming, not one of romance betrayed, but one of grief and loss. Then, as he moved to hold me, the projector suddenly changed images, a video of him and Clara, and in the background, a man I recognized, my own father. It was a video of them together, laughing, holding hands, and then my father leaned in and kissed Clara. But not a loving kiss, a demanding, forceful kiss. The video cut off. Liam looked at me, eyes filled with pain. Clara was my sister and your father, he trailed off. This changed everything. It was not a love story. It was a story of a hidden past, a secret that had been kept for years, and a dark secret at that. The air in the alcove thickened, heavy with unspoken accusations and the weight of a secret that had lain dormant for years, now violently unearthed. My mind reeled, trying to reconcile the image of my father, the man I'd always known as gentle and kind, with the predatory figure on the grainy video. It was like watching a distorted reflection of reality, a nightmare masquerading as truth. Liam's eyes, usually filled with warmth and understanding, now held a cold, hard edge, a silent accusation that cut deeper than any words. I found the video after Clara died, he said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know if I should. He paused, his gaze fixed on the flickering images on the screen, a silent testament to a betrayal that transcended the boundaries of grief and loss. The love story I'd been trying to piece together shattered again, replaced by a dark, twisted narrative of hidden desires and broken trust. My father, the man who had always preached about morality and integrity, had violated the sanctity of Liam's grief, and in turn, my own perception of reality. The bookstore, once a sanctuary of shared memories, now felt like a crime scene, the air thick with the residue of unspoken lies. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to demand answers, but the words caught in my throat, choked by a wave of disbelief and nausea. I felt a cold, hard anger not just at my father, but at Liam for keeping this hidden, for allowing me to exist in a blissful ignorance that now seemed like a cruel joke. Then, as if the universe decided to twist the knife further, a new image flickered onto the screen. A photograph of Clara and my father, their faces closed, their expressions intimate, a stark contrast to the forced aggression of the video. Below the photograph, a handwritten note in Clara's elegant script, "I love him, but I'm afraid." Love, fear, what twisted relationship had my father forged in the shadows of grief and loss? Liam turned to me, his eyes filled with a desperate plea for understanding. She was going to tell me, he said, his voice cracking. She was going to tell me everything, but she never got the chance. The implication hung heavy in the air. My father had silenced her, not with violence, but with the insidious power of manipulation and control. The realization sent a shiver down my spine, a chilling premonition of a darkness that ran deeper than I could have ever imagined. Then Liam moved forward and took something from his pocket, a small, worn leather journal. This was hers, he said, handing it to me. She wrote everything down. As I opened the journal, a folded piece of paper fell out. On the paper was a hand-drawn map, and on the back of the map a single sentence written in Clara's hand. "The night we kissed, the truth began." It was a map of the bookstore, and on the map, a single X marked a spot behind a loose brick in the wall. This was not a story of a love triangle, but a story of a hidden crime, and my father was at the center of it. The love story was a cover for something far more sinister. The leather journal felt cold and heavy in my trembling hands, a tangible piece of Clara's shattered life, a silent witness to the secrets that had festered in the shadows of grief and loss. The map, with its stark, hand-drawn lines and the ominous X marking a hidden location, pulsed with an unsettling energy, a silent promise of revelations yet to come. I looked at Liam, his face etched with a mixture of grief and a fierce determination, and a strange sense of shared purpose settled between us. We were no longer just two individuals bound by unspoken feelings and a shared history. We were partners in a quest for truth, driven by a need to unravel the tangled web of lies that had ensnared us. The loose brick hidden behind a towering shelf of ancient tomes felt cold and rough against my fingertips. With a hesitant push, it slid away, revealing a small, hidden compartment. Inside, a single, tarnished silver locket lay nestled in a bed of faded velvet. My breath caught in my throat as I opened it, revealing two miniature portraits. One of Clara, her eyes filled with a radiant joy that seemed to defy the darkness that had consumed her, and the other of my father, his face etched with a chillingly unfamiliar expression, a predatory glint in his eyes that sent a shiver down my spine. But it was the inscription on the back of the locket that truly stole my breath away. For my love, my secret, my undoing. Love, secret, undoing. The words echoed in the silence of the bookstore, each syllable a hammer blow against my already shattered perception of reality. Clara's words, her hidden fears, her unspoken love, all pointed towards a truth that was far more complex and dangerous than I could have ever imagined. The love story was a facade, a carefully constructed illusion that masked a darker, more sinister narrative. Then, as I turned the locket over, a small, folded piece of paper fell out, a letter written in Clara's elegant script. The letter was addressed to Liam, but it wasn't a love letter. It was a confession, a desperate plea for help, detailing a series of coded messages and hidden transactions, all pointing towards a network of illicit activities that involved my father and a group of shadowy figures. Clara had discovered something dangerous, something that had put her life in jeopardy. She wrote about a hidden storage unit, a place where she had stored evidence, a place she called the Serpent's Nest. The letter ended with a chilling warning: "He knows, he's watching, don't trust anyone." The implication was clear. My father was not just a grieving man, but a cunning manipulator, a man capable of unspeakable acts. And the night we kissed, the night Liam had been trying to remember, was not a romantic memory, but a night of fear, a night where Clara had passed him the locket and warned him about my father. Then Liam's phone rang, a shrill, jarring sound that shattered the silence. It was an unknown number. He answered, his voice tense. "They know we have the locket," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "They're coming." The love story was now a thriller, a race against time, a desperate attempt to uncover the truth before it was buried forever. The bookstore, once a haven of literary solace, now felt like a claustrophobic trap, the scent of aged paper replaced by the metallic tang of fear. Liam's words, "They're coming," echoed in the silence, a chilling premonition of the danger that lurked in the shadows. We were no longer just unraveling a family secret. We were caught in a deadly game, pawns in a conspiracy that reached far beyond the dusty shelves of pages of yesterday. The locket, the journal, the map, they were no longer just artifacts of a lost love. They were keys to a hidden truth, a truth that someone was willing to kill for. We had to move, and quickly. The Serpent's Nest, the storage unit Clara had mentioned, was our only lead, our only chance to uncover the evidence that could expose my father's dark deeds. As we slipped out of the bookstore, the rain had stopped, leaving behind a damp, eerie silence. The streets, once vibrant and bustling, were now deserted, the streetlights casting long, distorted shadows that danced with the ghosts of our fears. We moved like phantoms, our footsteps echoing in the stillness, our senses heightened, our hearts pounding in unison. The storage unit, nestled in a forgotten corner of the city, was a labyrinth of metal doors and flickering fluorescent lights. The number Clara had written in her journal, 42B, seemed to glow in the dim light, a beacon in the darkness. As we opened the door, a wave of cold air washed over us, carrying with it the scent of dust and decay. Inside, rows of metal shelves stretched into the shadows, filled with boxes and crates, each a potential hiding place for secrets. We found a large metal box marked with a strange symbol, a serpent coiled around a dagger. Inside the box, a series of encrypted files on a USB drive and a thick leather-bound ledger. The ledger contained detailed records of financial transactions, coded messages, and names, including my father's and Clara's. The files contained video evidence, surveillance footage of my father meeting with shadowy figures, exchanging packages, and whispering secrets in dimly lit rooms. The truth was laid bare, a chilling tapestry of corruption, betrayal, and murder. Then a sudden noise, a metallic click, and the room was flooded with light. Figures emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured by masks, their eyes cold and menacing. My father stood at the front, his face a mask of cold fury. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Some secrets are best left buried." He raised his hand, and the figures moved forward, their weapons glinting in the harsh light. We were trapped, caught in a web of lies that had been spun for years. As the figures closed in, Liam grabbed my hand and we ran, weaving through the maze of metal shelves, our hearts pounding in our chests. We reached the back of the unit, a dead end. But then Liam noticed a loose panel in the wall. Behind the panel, a hidden passage, a dark, narrow tunnel. We squeezed through, the panel closing behind us, plunging us into darkness. We stumbled through the tunnel, our hands outstretched, our breaths ragged. We emerged into an abandoned subway tunnel, the tracks stretching into the darkness, a silent promise of escape. As we ran along the tracks, the sound of footsteps echoed behind us, growing closer. We had to keep moving, we had to survive. As we ran, Liam stopped and pulled a small silver key from his pocket. Clara gave me this, he said, his voice trembling. She said it was the key to her safety deposit box. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a desperate hope. She said, the night we kissed, our love story takes off, but only if you find the key. The love story was not about romance, but survival. Clara knew, and she had entrusted Liam with the key to continue the fight, a fight against my father. The key to the safety deposit box contained the final piece, the proof that could tear down my father's entire operation and bring him to justice. The true love story was Clara's love for justice, and for Liam, and the night of the kiss was the night she gave him the key and set him on this path.